the first dance sequence was like it was supposed to be maybe like 45 seconds, 1 minute, but then Renate and the choreographer just made it into a 4-minute dance, and they showed
Not
me.
on purpose, because I didn't get the message.
Yeah, but it was okay. I mean, they showed it to me like 5 days before shooting it, and I absolutely loved it. And for me, filmmaking is about feelings, so we put the whole thing in. It's quite unpredictable, and we can kind of tell to the or say to the audience from now on, everything can happen. And I liked that statement.
Halfdan, I would love to start with you. This is a brilliant film, brilliant story, maybe primarily about perception, about we think we know some people, but then there's always a lot more to know, and then you make us challenge our preconceived notions in real time. How did you arrive at this story and playing with these themes as your debut, which is a really reassured debut?
Thank you so much. So what was the middle?
How did you arrive at this story? How did you come to this film, this concept?
Like the genesis of the film. Yeah. Okay. So it started really with the character for me of that Renate plays. I had this really strong feeling about this person she was fierce and manipulative and strong and smart in one moment, and then totally helpless in the next moment. That was kind of the genesis of her, and then I didn't know what universe to place her in, but until I heard this story about 2 6-year-old boys on a camping trip, and it was only like a 15-second story where the one 6-year-old said to the other, something similar like this, and my imagination just started spinning on who those boys were and who the parents was, and I created this whole world based on this very, very short story. And then I knew there was something there which will work very well as a sandbox almost to explore all these themes, to explore the perceptions or how you kind of project your own traumas and feelings onto others, and how you use fragmented piece of information to create the world and the stories you want to see and hear.
And I want to pick up on that, fragmented piece of information that you mentioned. The way you calibrate that in the script is really brilliant. You're just giving us a little bit of information with each step. When we think we know the whole story, there's a little bit more that you reveal. What was sort of your ground rules in writing the script about how much you want to reveal and how much you want to hold back from the audience?
To be honest, I watched 12 Angry Men like 50 times. and try to like see when they're dropping information and to try to take some inspiration from that. I mean, it was always clear to me that the first half of the film is kind of this almost satirical but social realistic chamber play, and then it kind of turns into a nightmare where everybody starts to lose their sense of reality and time and things like this. So I can play a little bit more around with the story then. But I think it was really interesting to explore, how traumas move in generations. I think it was very interesting to explore these characters who really is both like victim and abusers at the same time. The same with Armand. If he had done this, he's an abuser, but he's maybe also a victim of something terrible happened to him at home. So I explored all these themes, and I wanted also to. I found it very interesting to create this kind of satirical Kafkaesque space where they talk and talk and talk, but they really just go in circles. Yeah. But at the same time, the allegations keeps on rising and getting more serious and severe. So, yeah, there was a lot of. It was 7 years of screenwriting, so it was a lot of different things.
And Renate, I would love to bring you in next. First, how did you come on board? What was most compelling to you about Elizabeth, this character that Halfdan just explained? Both vulnerable and a little manipulative and very complicated, like the characters that you choose to play over the course of your career. So tell me a little bit about how you engage with that.
I didn't actually choose this character because we actually did a short movie 8-9 years ago, just 2 days, and it was supposed to be a test where we could kind of explore just me acting, you directing, and we only had 2 days of shooting, and it felt like we had done a whole big shoot, and we both had tears in our eyes, and we knew that we had a very deep connection, that we needed to do something together. And then you started developing this character, but in the beginning we didn't know. I didn't know how extreme she would get, but I remember because it was really hard to get funding. It's state funding, and a lot is happening in Norway now, but I think 7-8 years ago it wasn't that much. The money wouldn't necessarily so easily go to these kind of movies. So every time you gave me a new draft, you were like, sorry, she's more intense now. And of course, it's a great gift to be challenged like that. And you had seen me on stage. I come from the theater. And also this is kind of theatrical in a way, or is that the right word? I'm like directly translating from Norwegian, but it's almost like
like expressive.
Yeah, but like I would work on stage, like I use my body a lot. It's a very physical role, and to get the impossible task to laugh for 7 minutes, like it's a great. It's a great gift to get that, and I said even that morning, I won't be able to do it. It is impossible, and then at 10 hours, I actually went crazy, for real.
Then you get 5 days off after.
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So it's more about, for me, it's more about who I connect with, like we connected, and then we kind of inspired each other. You saw something in me, and even though it took so many years, I really it was so scared you would give up on the script. So we were very close collaborators kind of throughout. I was there a lot when you were writing it, and I just think it's very rare when you have someone that you get so eager when you work together, and you don't even have words for it, but it's a really good match. So now the next thing, I think it's going to be even harder. So
I'm glad you mentioned that sequence, the 7-minute laugh. I was going to ask, what draft did you get it in? Because you told me that it's getting more intense with each draft. Was that the final thing that Halfdan draft? This is the last draft, and I'm just adding the laugh sequence here.
Yeah, do you remember?
Yeah, it was from the first draft.
It was, yeah.
I had the idea of the laughter scene was there even before.
Oh, okay.
I actually looked it up. The idea came in 2016, 2 years before the first draft.
Because I think I just looked over it because I was like, it's impossible. And then,
I want to ask both of you, the style of your camera here is very close, and that creates a sense of claustrophobia. So the first question for you is, how did you choose that visual language, staying that close to faces? And for you, Renate, how does that inform your acting when you know that the camera is so close to your face? Does that kind of rewire the style in which you deliver your character?
Should I answer first? I mean, I love working, with actors. I love seeing faces, and when I have an actor like Renate, who's just like a force of nature, the only thing I want to do is place the goddamn camera in front of her and watch her do her magic. So for me, it felt really like natural to do a lot of close-ups in this film, both to create this, of course, claustrophobic sense that you're getting from it, but also because so much of the film it's not only what they're saying, but how they express it, And I wanted the audience to be part of observing and judging and trying to, make conclusions based on their expression. And for me, that was like, it was day 3 of shooting. It was the first day of Renate, and we had a close-up of her, the first like classroom scene, and she just blew my mind. And then that was the time I realized, okay, we got something here. I think we got something here.
Yeah, I think for me, I think the camera is well, you can really tell what the director also wants through how the camera is in the room. And also I feel that I am like working with you, even though you're sitting behind the monitor and I'm in the room. It's like it's a connection. And then if you have the like the whole production is pointed towards something that's kind of the director's vision. So and in Norway and in Europe, that is kind of the main thing. The director's vision is what everyone follows very strongly. So I think that is kind of the sacred thing. And then I can be like you've said, like a wild horse and be like give resistance, but I, as long as we're all like focusing on that, and I think just everyone in the room, and then you get that energy into every aspect. So the lighting, everyone is focused on the same thing. I think it gives a lot of energy. So that's what I felt in the room.
And we also actually shot the film chronologically.
Oh, okay.
So it was, you know, the whole crew and the cast was kind of part of the development, and it was a lot of and that was also the good thing because I felt that you and the director's assistant were the only two people that really knew what this film really was about, because there were so many times, for example, the first dance scene where I looked at the crew and they were like, you know, reading the script. Is this really in the script? And things like this. So yeah.
I want to talk about the dance sequences in a second, but first I want to ask you, Renate, whether you develop detailed backstories for your characters. In the case of Elizabeth, we know certain things about her. Obviously, she's an actor, and maybe she's fallen from grace. We know snippets of trauma, but there are also so many blanks in portraying her. Do you feel those blanks for yourself? Do you develop a backstory and discuss the things that we don't see on the screen?
Yes, I am almost autistic in the sense. I go very, very. The more time I get, and this was like 7 years. I didn't work on it all the time, but it's like it's for me. It's not work. It's almost like a hobby. So it's like I can't stop working. So I find details everywhere, and I have so much fun with it, like solving a puzzle. Like even when we finish shooting, I keep on working on the scenes. So I am still thinking like, oh, we could have done that. Oh, this way, like brain damaged in a way. But yeah, so there, I think also the more detail, the more kind of mystery and then I think the audience will get the depth in the little details.
That's why the performance feels so real, so lived in, because of all the details that maybe we don't know about, but you feel them deeply. So let's talk about those dance sequences. Were they a part of your initial vision, and how did they come about? I mean, especially the end piece is very suggestive in the sense that, you know, there are all these forces, almost feels like an attack of trauma and public eye, and it's interpreted really beautifully. So how did you kind of work that out and arrive at that?
The end dance, that was quite scripted, clearly scripted the whole time. The first dance sequence was like, it was supposed to be maybe like 45 seconds, 1 minute, but then Renate and the choreographer just made it into a 4-minute dance. And they showed
not
me.
On purpose, because I didn't get the message.
Yeah, but it was okay. I mean, they showed it to me like 5 days before shooting it, and absolutely loved it. And for me, filmmaking is about feelings, so we put the whole thing in. And like in retrospect, I think it's a really beautiful dance of like a resurrection of Elizabeth, because at this point she's at a really low point after the laughter scene and, you know, telling about the traumas, but now she's kind of dancing herself back to life again. And I think it was also quite interesting to have a dance sequence at this point, because it's quite unpredictable, and we can kind of tell say to the audience, from now on everything can happen. And I liked that statement. And I love dancing in films, so yeah, why not?
And what was that like for you to film those sequences?
I also love dancing and also like physical expression. I worked so long in the theater, so for me it's very natural. So this was you rarely get to do that in movies. So and also trying to find like her inner life. You actually see it through the headmaster's point of view, but you get in contact with her. And like you said, I love the fact that it opens the movie to that anything can happen from that point. And the last dance sequence is also just a really beautiful piece, like a condensed version of her kind of journey through the movie, really, that she's so admired and loved, and then everyone wants a piece of her, and destroys her in that, and the panic that she has inside, and yeah, just the structure of the physicality in that is it's really beautiful.
Thank you. I want to ask you about the overall tension that we feel throughout the movie. You know, obviously the case itself is very mysterious and tense, but you also have these external factors, the broken fire alarm, the nosebleed, and it's very hot. And then there's this upcoming celebration. It's almost like a ticking clock that we kind of feel. So what was it like for you to braid all those elements into the script?
I mean, I wanted almost all the scenes or all like the elements to follow the premise of the story, which was, is this really serious or is it totally innocent? Is this play or is it abuse? You know, and for example, with the fire alarm, that had several functions for me. Of course, if it's broken, it's not dangerous. You know, it's just a broken fire alarm. If it's not broken, you have to maybe get out as soon as possible. And the same with the nose bleeding, you know, she's talking about, or the teacher mentions leukemia. So is it, you know, leukemia, or is it just like innocent nose bleeding? And with the fire alarm also, it's, for me, as a person, I'm a quite anxious person, and it often feels like a fire alarm goes, you know, within me. And I don't know if it's broken or if it's real, or if it tells me about a real danger or not. So I'm trying to, you know, find out, and it's not always so easy, so I run out in the rain, you know. So it's just really an emotional internal, from an emotional point of view.
And your location is a part of that tension too. You know, obviously you're always in the single location. I'm wondering if you already had this location when you were building these details, or did you have to kind of shift them when you find the right school to set the movie in?
No, we a lot of the details were already there, but we scouted maybe 250 schools before we found this one.
Wow.
So it was, of course, really hard to find a school that kind of fitted the imagination of the school I had. But in the end, we found this absolutely beautiful school in the West Coast, and we were also allowed to do a lot of things, building the red bathroom and painting the hallways and doing a lot of things. And for me, the feeling of the school was really clear from the beginning, how it was going to sound and look like. I mean, I remember sleeping over at my own school when I was like 12 years old, and I was really struck by the like mysterious, scary, silent feeling in the school after hours, you know, because in the daytime it's kids running around, it's life and light, but in the evening it's like the soul of the building is coming to life, and the ghost from that past is, you know, walking around in the hallways. And that was kind of the audiovisual feeling we wanted to bring in the film.
I also want to ask about the rest of the cast, playing Sarah and Anders. Between your character and them, there's obviously this really uncomfortable dynamic and almost the silent hostility that intensifies. How did you, the three of you, build that together? Was there a lot of rehearsal involved? What was that like to find that alchemy?
I think with when Ellen came into the audition room, because we had tried it with different types of actors that had a different approach, and when she came in, I was like, okay, I have to step up my game. She is just really, really good. And she just solved it also in a really smart way. And also Halfdan, really, you can tell that he really loves actors and their work and really respects their work. And I think these actors are, really good. You worked very differently with all of them. So and I didn't really know what you talked about with Ellen. She didn't really know what you talked about with me. So I think all those spaces was kind of the collision that made the tension between us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And did you have a chance to rehearse some of the touch points and the?
Yes, but I don't like rehearsal so much.
So we argued a little bit about that.
Yes.
Actually. Yeah, but we rehearsed all the dialogue scenes, but like some of the actors really like rehearsals, so they act it out. And Renate hates rehearsals, so she's like sitting there stone cold saying the lines, and I'm trying to see if it works, trying to imagine, okay, if Renate plays this out, will it then work? And fortunately, it did. And
I'm so scared of losing the momentum.
Yeah, and it's also a really important ability to say, I don't like rehearsals. I can't do it. You know your.
But for some movies,
process.
for some characters, it can be good.
Yeah.
Maybe next time.
We didn't rehearse the laughter scene.
No, we couldn't rehearse.
No, we couldn't. We never talked about.
Then I would
that
lose all confidence.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have worked.
Thematically, like there are certain lines I remember from the film. There was this one line that stayed with me. I showed the students Frozen, but the parents were offended. I think it's a line like that. And then also thinking about how the teachers and administrators are kind of tiptoeing around talking about the problem without necessarily saying it. Was it a way of kind of critique about a society that's just maybe a little bit too sensitive and too listening and not necessarily directly saying what it is that they're thinking?
Yes, actually, many of the lines is directly stolen from our Prime Minister's press conferences during the pandemic. I wanted to create this.
Don't send that video to Norway.
I wanted to create this this leader that gives an illusion of leadership, but really doesn't take any responsibility and trying his absolutely best to not be involved, but still show the illusion of leadership, handling out responsibility to everybody else. So that's of course something. Something it's quite Norwegian maybe to always be also be quite afraid of conflict and things like this. But but the young teacher she really tries.
She does,
but she is just. I feel so sorry for her. I think the best thing would be to let her to run the meeting. To be honest. And also the school nurse, she's quite competent, but she's just having a really unlucky day with the nose bleeding.
The other line that stayed with me is the confidence in which I think the school president says, kids stop playing doctor at kindergarten, something like that. Yeah. Was that a factual research-based statement? How did you arrive at that language?
Yes, so I did a little bit of research with this exact case. So I called around 55 principals in Norway, and I got 55 different answers on how to solve this case. And one of them said, playing doctor is something we leave behind in kindergarten. And for me, that was a quite amazing line because, a kid goes to kindergarten until they're like 6 years old, and then they start school. And in between that, there's a summer vacation. So in that summer vacation, they are supposed to learn, a kid, that they should not be playing doctor anymore. It's just an absurd statement.
Yeah.
It isn't possible. kids doesn't work that way, you know. So that was a way for me to try to tell how we as adults trying to put kids' chaos and kids' logic into a adult system, and I think that's problematic.
Thank you. I think I'm getting the last question remark, and Renate, I want to ask this one to you. I know you've been acting long before that, but your international breakout was with The Worst Person in the World. Since then, I've seen you in Handling the Undead. I've seen you in A Different Man, a film from this year, which is also brilliant. And this one, I think if I can find one through line among the roles that you play, they're complicated women. They don't necessarily feel boxed to any kind of likable or unlikable or strong or vulnerable. I'm wondering if you have a through line in your head when you're choosing the characters that you want to play in.
Not a line, but a feeling. If you have both the light and the darkness, all the contrasts, then you can try to attempt to make a natural human being in that, a woman that actually exists, with all the bad sides and the good sides, and I think it's a lot of fun to try to be honest with those really bad sides and also the good sides. That's also really shameful for me, but I think So the light and the darkness together, build from there. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Renate and Halfdan, for this conversation. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.